As we all know, Donald Trump on the campaign trail rather famously and effectively, frankly, promised to lower the prices of everything, especially groceries, on day one. Well, now it's been more than 365 of those days, and he's gone from touting what he would do in the vein of affordability to attacking anyone who complains about it, calling it a hoax made up by Democrats. And if you're looking for the reason for that switch, look no further than the state of Donald Trump's economy and the prices of groceries. New data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics finds that prices have gone up in 5 of the 6 major food-at-home categories, with December seeing the biggest price spike since the year 2022. As Americans' grocery bills go up, Donald Trump's rhetoric has gone from "Make America Great Again" to something more akin to "Make breadlines cool again." Here's Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins on how to survive and thrive in Trump's America.
Are we actually asking Americans, especially those who are living on the margins, are we asking them to spend more on their diet? And the answer to that is no. We've run over 1,000 simulations. It can cost around $3 a meal for a piece of chicken, a piece of broccoli, corn tortilla, and one other thing. And so there is a way to do this that actually will save the average American consumer money.
I'm writing this down. 1 piece of chicken, 1 piece of broccoli, 1 corn tortilla, and something else. A mystery item. It's literally like a Happy Meal. I want to bring in staff writer, podcast host at The Atlantic, David Frum. Alex and Tim are still here. I mean, David, this is part of a longer conversation we've been having over many, many months now of the gaslighting, the insanity, the Marie Antoinette, let them eat cake. But this is let them eat, quote, 1 piece of chicken, 1 piece of broccoli, 1 corn tortilla, and something else, end quote.
Yeah, I do wonder about the Oliver Twist situation where the kid at the table asks, "May I have a second corn tortilla?"
And piece of broccoli.
And you have to tell the child, "No, the president said it's 1 corn tortilla for you." Also, I wonder what happens to that broccoli in wintertime when the broccoli has to come from Mexico, on which all of these tariffs have been applied. But it is an example of how Donald Trump and his team are losing the instinct for the popular that they had in their first term. Trump did have, he never went into a grocery store in his life, and he's famously indifferent to the well-being of ordinary people. But he did have this kind of awareness, this kind of situational awareness of what life was like or could be like, where not to go. In the second term, and this is the thing that's become very dangerous, he's decided the only price that matters is the price of gasoline. So, and that has been the big driver of everything he's doing, from invading Venezuela to keep the dictator in place but seize oil, to not helping Iran because he's afraid if you help Iran, that will cause disturbances that drive the price of oil up, to his desire to annex parts of Canada. All of that is, if we can get enough oil, we can drive the price of gasoline down, and that's the only price that matters. Then they won't care. They can't have 2 corn tortillas, but only 1.
David, I think, too, that food insecurity is, it's a real tragedy, and it's a thing wrapped in shame. I remember sort of the most tangible, visible window into it was the early months of the COVID pandemic, when people suddenly lost their jobs, and you saw these really expensive cars lined up at food banks to get groceries for the week. People that made a good living but were suddenly out of work or suddenly furloughed and didn't have enough money for groceries. It is so visceral. And I wonder if the betrayal, the lie, the intentional lie about bringing the price of groceries down with absolutely no intention of doing it. If you intended to bring groceries down ever and weren't just saying it to get reelected and stay out of jail and get Jack Smith fired, you wouldn't have done tariffs on any food, on any countries that we trade produce with. So what is your sense of the political ramifications of the betrayal on food prices?
Well, there's no backing away from this, because the only way you can deal with the price of groceries, the only way you can deal with the affordability problem, as Trump doesn't like to call it, is to acknowledge that you did this yourself. Take the price of a can of beans. Trump, whatever happens to the beans inside the can, that can is made out of metal that Trump has made more expensive. And whether the can is aluminum for your soda or whether it's iron or steel for the beans themselves, all of those things are subject to tariffs that make the can more expensive. If the can is more expensive, the can of stuff is going to be more expensive. They did that on purpose. They're still doing it. They want to make it worse. Everybody knows it. How do you lie your way out of that?
Yeah, I mean, it is to me this bigger story. I mean, there is. I mean, food insecurity is a tragedy. Food insecurity is a reality for a lot of people, and Donald Trump made it worse after promising to make it better.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of got to defend Brooke Rollins on this one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, at the gay beach house, one boneless, skinless chicken breast and one broccoli is pretty standard lunch. You know, you want to look good in the Speedo.
Oh, I mean, like, well, that's why I wasn't sure who that was.
Yeah, one other thing.
One
Yeah,
other
what's the
thing.
one other thing?
A single
Like,
bean
a
from
martini?
the can of beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, vodka soda, I think.
I've been to the beach house.
No, it's bad. Like, it's bad. And it's bad for both the farmers and seriousness. She's the Secretary of Agriculture.
Yeah.
It's bad for both the farmers and the eaters. Like, and, you know, I was interviewing somebody for the Pod yesterday who's a farmer in Mississippi. And he's like, any farmer that tells you that things are okay right now is lying. Like, he's like, I've got a bunch of rice that's just sitting there waiting for because the markets aren't open. The foreign markets aren't open. And David just laid out that the food that we're importing, you know, particularly in the wintertime from Central and South America, like, that's more expensive for everybody. And so, like, he's created this problem, you know, both for, you know, for people that are, like, his supporters,
right,
on both
right.
sides of the deal.
You went and did that reporting, I remember, with farmers.
Well, yeah. First of all, there's the tariffs, there's the labor shortages that are blooming right now because they're seizing most of the people who pick fruit and harvest vegetables. There's the reality that they have no solution for healthcare premiums, which are skyrocketing. These are all budgetary concerns. If you can't afford your health insurance or you have to pay $500 more a month, you're definitely not buying more corn tortillas. You know, this is.
I mean, the corn tortillas are
Also,
like,
so random.
But also even the delivery. That's the agriculture secretary who can't even remember what the four things are.
Right.
The tortilla,
Rick
the
Perry.
chicken, the broccoli, and one other thing.
Right.
They've run so many simulations, they've done so much data diving that they can't actually remember what the results are. They are completely unserious about the problem, the crisis of being able to afford a life in America. And they've made it exponentially
There's a thing that
worse.
needs to be said about also the corn tortilla. The reason she emphasized the corn tortilla is because the classic food of the hard-pressed is pasta made from wheat. Trump put the largest supplier of pasta in the United States is Italy, and Trump put a tariff on Italian pasta, which would be the thing that you might otherwise have expected to see on that table. And even if you buy American-made pasta, that American-made pasta is made from Canadian durum wheat, on which there's now a tariff that there didn't used to be. So all the basic foods, he made them more expensive on purpose.
Yeah, we buy a lot of mac and cheese, and I can attest to the price going up and not down.